Hi there, and welcome back to Fundamentals of Programming. This is Lesson 7, and we will talk about data in this lesson. Data is a very important topic because every application that we write works with data in some way. That data can come from the user, or it can come from a database or a file off the file system. If you're writing JavaScript code inside of the browser, data can even come in the form of an HTML element in the page. So we need some way to work with data within our code, and every programming language provides us a basic set of what are called data types. These data types represent values of a particular type of data. So if we have numeric data, that would be represented by a particular data type. If we have text data, that would be represented by another data type. So every language provides us with a core set of data types that we can use to work with basic types of data. Now, that doesn't mean that every language has the same data types, because that is definitely not the case. But most languages have at least a core set of data types that are similar. So if you go from JavaScript to some other language, you can adapt your thinking to work with those other data types that is in a different language. The data types might be a little bit more specific, but you still have the same basic types of data. JavaScript has a small amount of built-in data types, and in this lesson we will discuss 3 of them. We'll start off with something familiar. It is the number data type. If you were going to refer to the number data type in some type of text like a blog post, you would use a capital N to refer to the number data type. In JavaScript, every numeric value is represented by the number data type. Now, I'm going to use the term value often, and value is simply just a value of a particular data type. So the number 10 is a value of the number data type. But it's not just whole numbers. We can also have fractional numbers, 10.1234. This is also a numeric value. And if we want to make this negative, that too is a numeric value. So whatever number you can dream up, it is a number value. The second data type is called string. This is textual data, and it's called a string because it is a string of characters. You can create a string with a set of double quotes or a set of single quotes. It doesn't matter. However, you can only begin a string and end a string with the same set of quotes. So if you begin a string with double quotes, you have to end the string with double quotes. Now, in lesson 6, we saw a string. We saw the string hello world. This is a string value. It begins with double quotes and ends with double quotes. If we remove the double quotes, we don't have a string anymore. We have some code that has some errors in it. So strings begin and end with a set of quotes. And to probably confuse the issue, we can use a single quote inside of a string delimited by double quotes. So let's add it apostrophe S. It's hello world. Color coding is going to give you hints as to what is valid and what is not valid. In the case of this string here, we can see that it is all the same color. So color coding is giving us the hint that this is a valid string, and it would be correct. This is valid. But if we change this single quote to a double quote, the color coding is going to change. And this is because this is not valid. If we tried to execute this code, we would end up with an error, because what we actually have is a string with the word it. And then after that string, we have some code that is, well, doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything, and it's going to cause an error. So this is something very important to keep in mind. Always make sure that you line up your quotes appropriately, and also use color coding to your advantage. Let's look at the reverse of this. We will delimit the string using single quotes, and then we will use a double quote inside of the string. So instead of saying it's hello world, we can do I said, comma, space, and then use the double quotes to use some type of quotation here. So this would be a valid string, because once again, the color coding is kind of hinting that it is, and I also know that this is a valid string because we can use double quotes inside of a string that is delimited with single quotes. The last data type is the easiest. It has a weird name, Boolean, Boolean, but there's only two values that a Boolean value can have, true or false. That's it. There's nothing else. This is very much in line with a bit. If you're not familiar with the technical aspects of a computer, it is built upon a binary system, 1 and 0. And every computer has a processor. That processor is made up of transistors. Those transistors have only two states, on or off. So at the most basic level of computer, you have only two states. You have a binary system. A Boolean is binary as well. And those are the three built-in data types for the JavaScript language. Now, there are more built-in data types in JavaScript, but these are the three that we will discuss today. Once again, every language is going to have a different set of data types. There will be some similarities between those, but there will be some differences. For example, JavaScript has a number data type, and this represents all number values. So positive, negative, whole, or fractional, it doesn't matter. Some languages have a more specific set of numeric data types. Instead of just a number data type, they would have an integer data type, which would be whole numbers, either positive or negative. Then they might have a floating point data type, which is a fractional number, either positive or negative, and then they might have something called a double floating point, which is a very large floating point number. Some languages have, to confuse you even more, a decimal data type, and this would be more accurate than a double or a floating point number. So some languages have a more specific set of data types, but the same ideas and principles are applied. You have a data type that represents a specific type of data. So there you go. In the next lesson, we will build upon what we talked about today with the number, string, and Boolean data types, and we will store these values in memory by creating and using variables.